Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to wait for you guys to start tuning in. I have a really good topic for you guys. I know by popular demand on Friday, you guys wanted to find out more about immigration red flags. So I will be talking about that today. So I'm just going to wait for a few more people to tune in. Definitely share this video with your friend. Tap your friend, send it on WhatsApp, Facebook, whatever. Tell them to tune in. This is a video to save and to watch. Um, Anyone that in the immigration process, this is a good video to watch. So let me first start by introducing myself. My name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration attorney, and I present clients in all 50 states with their family immigration matter. Your location doesn't matter. As long as you're trying to immigrate into the United States, you can schedule a consultation with us by calling 407-995-6567, or you can send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. Hi, Lady Boutique. So as I was saying, today's a really good topic. So pay attention. Today, I want to specifically talk about immigration red flags. Sometimes people wonder, well, why me? Like, why is mine so complicated? Or why are they doing this to me and my case in particular? Or why am I being given a Stokes interview? Or why can't they decide? Or why don't they believe me? So that's what we're going to be talking about. And for those of you who don't know what a Stokes interview is, a Stokes interview is basically where they separate you and your spouse. They bring one person in, they ask you questions, they take you out, bring your other partner in and ask them questions and see if your questions match. So in those cases, like the level of scrutiny is really, really high. So you really want to have your A game on. So let's talk about the red flags and what sometimes causes that. And I'm just going to run through a list and just kind of describe it. So I just put my notes together just so that I don't forget anything. So the first and the number one thing that usually raises a red flag is a massive age gap. So what do I mean when I say age gap? Age gap is where basically, you have a wife who is like 70 years old, and a spouse who's like 20, a spouse who's like 30. I'm just picking up numbers. Those a lot of times raise a red flag because the way immigration sees it is that those people don't generally have anything in common from a generational standpoint. And that, the initial impression is that this is being done for papers. And good morning to everyone. I can see all your good mornings, but because I want to get into this because I have a lot to talk about before I got to jump off. But good morning, everybody. So when you have somebody who's 60 years old and, they're being married to somebody who's 20 years old, the first thing you're going to be asking is, well, what do they have in common? Why are they married? Especially when it's a female who's the older person. Thank you, Tyler. And the male is the younger person. The reason is because culturally, in most significant cultures, you find that there are more men that are older than their spouses than women. So they look to the culture of that person. So let's say, let me just pick a random country, like they're from Ghana or something like that. Like the immigrant is from Ghana and the immigrant is 30 years old, and then you have a wife that's 60 years old. What they're going to look at is that, is it common in Ghana that people that people marry people with that much age gap, and especially when the male is a younger person? And if it's not, expect some scrutiny. And when I talk about scrutiny here, it does not mean that your case is going to be denied. It just means that you better have your stuff together, to show that your marriage is legitimate, because you will be going through some pains. Okay, that's the first one. Another one is for people who get divorced this week and then marry somebody the next week. That is an immigration red flag, because it just basically means like you're basically playing ping pong with marriage, and they feel like you're just literally marrying and seeing what would stick. So because most people don't get divorced and then marry the next week. Does it happen? Yes, it happens, but it is a red flag. So Again, let me repeat, I'm listing out red flags. Doesn't mean that they will deny your case, but these are things that make them give your case a stricter scrutiny and most likely subject yourself to extra Stokes interviews or more evidence, show us more evidence, show us more evidence, right? That your marriage is real. So if you married somebody and divorced last week and this week you got married again, red flag. Another thing is if your petitioner is a second time, I think on Instagram. I don't know. Instagram is always messing with me. Can you guys see me? I think my Wi-Fi just froze up. Just comment. Let me know if you can see me before I keep yapping away. Can you guys see me on Instagram? I hope you guys can see me. But anyway, let me continue. So another one is for you, U.S. citizens or green card holders who basically this is their second time filing for somebody. Like you keep filing for people, it becomes a red flag. Like, are you doing this for business? Or is this really your spouse? So they want to see, so again, when I say this, it doesn't necessarily mean a denial, but it's certainly a red flag. Like, why do you keep filing and petitioning for people? Why do you keep marrying immigrants? Okay. Another thing is, let's see. Another thing is no shared language. What do I mean by that? You marry somebody, you speak English, and the person you marry speaks a completely different language that you don't understand. That is a red flag because USCIS is like, well, how do you guys communicate? And all of that stuff. I mean, I know you guys watch 90 Day Fiance and sometimes you see that happening, but it is an immigration red flag where, one person is speaking a completely different language and the other person is speaking a completely different language and they have no way to communicate. Another red flag is secret marriages. I can't tell you guys how many times I get on a consult or a phone call with somebody and I say, are you guys on social media? And they're like, I don't do social media or whatever it is. And I'm like, well, you better start doing social media. You better start doing social media because social media is one way to show that your marriage is legitimate because you're not hiding your partner. So a lot of people's like, oh yeah, I don't do that. I don't post that. On a real life, that's okay. But the thing is, when you are in the immigration process, you need to understand that they have an unrealistic expectation of you compared to a normal couple. So if you're a normal couple that doesn't have to worry about immigration, if you don't want to post your chick or your man on social media, that's on you. But if you are trying to do immigration, you need to post them because you need to show that you're not hiding this person and that there are many people that endorse your marriage. I will tell you guys, I had a very, very difficult case. It was an NOID. The person came to me with an NOID. I didn't file their initial case. And literally, they like bombed their entire Stokes interview. Like their Stokes interview was a mess. I was certain that they were getting denied. Like I was like, okay, we'll just do it. But the guy was like, no, you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it, and you're gonna do it. And I remember we're literally pulling sticks. Like everything that they had said, they don't accept it. We submitted, and then I went on his social media and I saw all this posts with him and his wife, like hundreds of people commenting like year to year to year about their relationship. And would you guys know that was the winning factor that made them win the case? Because everybody else knew that it was his spouse. And like they were talking about them and posting about them, say, oh, cute couple, oh, what did you guys do today? Oh, look at me and my wife. Happy birthday to my wife. Happy birthday to my babe, or whatever it is. So it is really important that you are sharing your marriage. If you have family members that are here within the United States and you don't know about your spouse, those are red flags. Okay. Okay. So let's see what other red flags. So same house and no interaction. So let me talk about this one. What do I mean by same house and no interaction? Y'all are married. You guys live in the same house, but you don't see each other. Let me pause. Blessed said, what if you don't use social media? Well, you need to start using social media. It's plain and simple. Like I said, when you're dealing with immigration, there's certain things that are not fair. But if that's what it takes for you to show that your marriage is legitimate, especially when you don't have other facts, get on social media. You can delete your social media after you get married. After you get your green card. All right, let me go back to what I was saying, and I lost my train of thought right now. What was I talking about, guys? Okay, yeah, same house and no interaction. So if you live in the same house with somebody and your schedules are completely different, meaning there's no opportunity for you guys to see each other. One person is working from 8 to 5, the other person is working from 3 to midnight or whatever it is, and there's no opportunity for you guys to be home together. That is what you consider being in the same house and no interaction. Those are immigration red flags, because it's like, well, when do you do marriage? When are you guys married? So that's another red flag. Another red flag is quick marriages. Quick marriages, meaning you met today, you got married 2 weeks later. Does it happen in real life? Yeah, I mean, after all, Portia got engaged after 2 weeks. This is Portia from Real Housewives of Atlanta. And people can debate on whether her marriage was legitimate, whether her engagement is legitimate or not. But that's Portia's business. But just the same way that people debate that is Portia really engaged to this rich man for money or for love, is the same way that USCIS looks at quick marriages. Like, are you really engaged after like 2 weeks or married after like 2 weeks for love, or is it because of your immigration? So again, something to take note of. Another one, and this is a very, very, very common one, very, very common one, is when you have an impoverished US citizen or LPR petitioner. What do I mean by that? It means somebody who is as broke comes. They don't have a job. They don't, like, they've not filed taxes in years. um you know and then USCIS looks at you, and you seem somebody who's responsible, and even with your little work permit, you're busting your behind and you're working so much. They're going to be like, okay, this person has an incentive to be in, that's the broke US citizen, has an incentive to be in a fraudulent relationship, because they need the money. They're broke. So again, that is a red flag. Okay. And then another thing that's a red flag, I don't know if you guys are seeing a common theme here. The common theme here is where there are differences that don't make sense. Differences that don't make sense. That is a common theme. Where you have differences in language, where you have differences in age, and then, differences in social economic status and cultural differences, where one person is a medical doctor in their home country, and then they come here and they're married to somebody who, I don't want to say anything because I don't want anybody to attack me and say, oh, you said this and this is my job. But basically, there's a certain standard of where you expect, I don't know if you guys have ever heard that phrase, what's the phrase? I forgot what the phrase is called, but basically where it's like, well, what do they have in common? Like that they'll be dating, like they don't have anything in common. This one did this and has accomplished all those things. This one has done nothing. Like, what do they have in common? Again, it's not that it doesn't happen or these are not legitimate, but these are things that raise red flags. Of course, there is, those who have a history of fraud or crimes or lies. Like, if you've ever had a case where USCIS believed that it was a marital fraudulent case or whatever, it was a marriage fraud case, best believe, even if you have a legitimate marriage the second time, they're going to be like, okay, wonderful. You have a legitimate marriage, but let's go back to your other marriage. How can you prove that other marriage was real, right? Or, the person has like a pattern of just criminal behavior, criminal activity. Okay, so let me see what else haven't I talked about. And then, of course, different addresses. I've talked about this a lot. If you guys are married, while when the Montague says love is love, anyone can fall in love with anyone. So that's crazy. See, I agree with you. Anyone can fall in love with anyone, but here's the thing. Immigration doesn't care. When you're dealing with immigration, they have standards that are much higher than a normal marriage, a normal relationship. I've been into interviews where USCIS will ask a question, like maybe in a Stokes interview, that even I can answer about my husband. And I see my husband every day, and we've been married for like 13 years. Do you understand what I'm saying? So while it seems unfair, that is the standard to become a green card holder in the United States. So if that is the standard, then you have to make sure basically your marriage is essentially flawless. It's like the argument of, COVID vaccines. Let's talk about that for a quick second, right? Is it fair that they're requiring people to get COVID vaccines to become a green card holder when they're not requiring it of US citizens who are in the United States? No, it's not fair. But because you are the person seeking that benefit from that country, it's almost like you kind of have to do what you need to get to where you need to go. Like you just have to deal with the basically I don't want to use a curse word here, but just deal with it. And that's why I said, like, when people say I don't want to have social media, I was like, well, do you want your green card? Or they tell me I don't want to get a COVID vaccine. I said, well, do you want your green card? You just gotta. Everybody has a choice. You can either choose to do it or you can choose not to do it. Period. Right? But I see that you said you got me good. So let's see what else. So let's talk about different addresses. And I've talked about this before. When you have different addresses, it has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, extra scrutiny and most likely a denial. Different addresses because, one person is in school, or maybe they're here on an F1 visa and they don't want to run afoul their visa. And then the other person has a job in another state where they're licensed and they can't just move. Let's even use a lawyer, for instance, like you're married to a lawyer. Because after all, everybody is an immigration process, regardless of your profession, right? Let's say you're married to a lawyer and like the lawyer practices an area of law where they have to get a license in another state. And then you an F1 student, so you want to finish out and get your degree, right? It makes sense that you guys are living in different states. However, they still want to see solid proof of the union, meaning how often are you guys seeing each other? How often are you guys talking? What are you guys doing together that shows your marriage? Where is the person with the F1 spending their midterm holiday, their Christmas holiday, their Thanksgiving holiday, and stuff like that? But if it's because, well, I just don't like the weather there, I don't want to move there, I just don't like it, that's not good enough for immigration. They want you to move. They want you guys to live together because to them, that is essentially what a legitimate marriage is. You guys, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to any questions today. Let me make sure I've covered all the ones I want to. I talked about that. Oh, yeah. And then the other one is different religions or different races. Again, you see the common theme here, differences. If you have somebody who is maybe a Christian or agnostic or atheist that doesn't have any religion, and maybe they're married to like somebody who's like Muslim from like a predominantly Muslim country or whatever, it could raise a red flag. Like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to convert? Been in interviews where they ask them that. I would say that Muslims are unfairly targeted on that. Like they don't do that as much with maybe Christians, or Jewish people. Like it's mostly the Muslims. It's not fair, but this happens. And then same thing with race. Like sometimes they look at that. Is it fair or is it right? We're in 2022. It shouldn't matter. But in immigration, they look at these things. So like when I list all these things that I've written in my post-it notes, I don't list them out like to scare you guys because, I'm not one for doom and gloom, but I list them out to tell you or to explain to you how the mind of immigration officers work. And so if you fall into one of those categories, you have to be prepared to do what you need to do to show that your marriage is real. You have to really be airtight. Otherwise, you're going to be faced with that red flag that could end up in a denial. And the worst thing is when you truly have a legitimate marriage, but you end up in a denial because you can't overcome these doubts that they have of you. Okay, so I have about 5 minutes. Let me just get through and see what it is. And see what I can get to. Okay, let's see. All right, let me see on Instagram. Can a U.S. citizen file for your spouse? Whose spouse? Are you asking if a U.S. citizen can file for their own spouse? If that's the question, the answer is yes, they can. Um, um, Somebody asked a question. Can you pause? Can you? I can't understand what you're writing. Something about if you're filing for living in a different state, is that a red flag? We visit each other, though. It is a red flag. However, can you show that your marriage is legitimate? So if you can show that your marriage is legitimate, then you'll be good. The key thing, like I said, is just show your marriage is legitimate. So if you're saying that you visit each other all the time, look at all the things we have together. Look, we went to Six Flags together. We go to Disney together. Look at our family reunion together. Look at all of this stuff together and explain it. Look, life is tough, right? We're in the COVID times where it's hard to get a job or whatever it is. And so if this is what I need to do to support my family, then I need to go live somewhere else for a few to support my family and make a living. That's fine, but you just have to be able to show that your marriage is legit. That's all. Ashlyn Summers says, how long does vow alone take? 2 years to 2.5 years. That's the timeline. And thank you, Ashlyn. Ashlyn says, love your nails on the top. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Can someone still need to do a psych evaluation even though the vow is already filed? So you mean, does someone still need to do a psychological evaluation? So, oh my gosh. So my daughter is calling me, and I know that has completely paused my live. If you guys cannot hear me any longer on Instagram, let me know. Hopefully you guys can still hear me, but whenever I get a phone call, it pauses my audio. So hopefully you guys can still hear me. But the person was asking, do you still do a psych evaluation even though you've submitted? The answer is yes. If you need therapy, you should absolutely be doing a psychological evaluation. And you can always supplement your application. You can always supplement your application and let them know that, okay, some people say they can hear me, some people say they can't hear me. So as long as some of you can hear me, that's good. So, and then you can submit your psych after the fact. Just make sure when you're submitting your psychological that you're able to give the receipt number so that they can match it with the right case. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm just looking I'm going to answer one more question and I got to jump off. Let's see. I was married to a U.S. citizen. He filed for me and my daughter. Everything was going well, but about to go for the interview and we had a huge fight. He wrote the embassy not to give us the visa. So it will affect you. It will affect you. If you're in the United States, I would have been able to maybe screen you to see if you qualify for VAWA, but based on your question, obviously your consular processing, and I'm going to probably assume that you've never lived together, so you don't qualify for VAWA. If your spouse no longer wants to petition for you, unfortunately, that would affect your case. Okay, I can take one more. Zarnila says, how long after a green card VAWA is approved do you get the green card? So if they've already approved your green card, usually you would get it within a week. Usually they first put the card in publication, they make the card, and then they mail it to you or wherever your safe address or whoever your attorney is. That's how long it takes. Okay, guys, I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to all your questions, but I just really wanted to get out all these red flags. I'll be on live again on Friday at 10 a.m. So definitely tune in and I will be able to answer your questions. Until then, I hope you guys have a great day. Share this video because I know I'm hitting some gems in here and you don't want to keep this to yourself. All right, guys, if you want to schedule a consult with us, 407-995-6567 or WhatsApp 404-333-8751. All right, guys, bye.